Hey family, it's your girl, Boss B, and welcome to the Ask a Bee Show, the place where your letters come to life. Every day people write in with real questions about life, love, and everything in between. And together we find hope, healing, and a whole lot of honesty. Because here on Ask a Bee, we don't just talk about problems, we talk about possibilities. So grab your tea, open your heart, and let's buzz into today's letters right here on the Ask a Bee Show. Hello, beautiful people. How are you this day? It is a lovely day today. I have to say, I'm just having a good one. Some weeks they don't start out clean, and some weeks start with a little leftover chaos from the weekend, but somehow that chaos becomes the very thing that shapes the days ahead, right? And that's exactly where we are right now, because Saturday wasn't smooth. It might not have been pretty, and it definitely wasn't planned, but it was real, right? It was human. It was honest. It might have shook the room a bit. But then in the middle of that wobble, something meaningful happened, right? A letter was read, a truth was spoken. And, by the time we closed that show out, we weren't walking away confused. We were walking away sharpened. Then came Monday. Monday wasn't cleanup, okay? We weren't cleaning anything up. Monday was clarity, right? So it was the day that everything settled. The recap wasn't a redo, it was a revelation. It was the conversation that drew the line between what happened and what it taught us, right? We went back through the fireman's letter, walked through the moment that shifted the tone, talked openly, about what it feels like when energy changes mid-conversation. And, instead of letting it derail the day, we turned it into a full hour of grounded, honest talk. Monday was where the weight lifted. Monday was where the understanding landed. Monday was where the gratitude started to take shape. And now it's Tuesday, the perfect day to start my thankful week. Not because everything is neat and tidy, but because the last few days have shown us something worth celebrating as far as I'm concerned. Saturday reminded us that even messy moments can carry meaning. Monday reminded us that reflection can turn confusion into clarity. And then Tuesday, today, reminds us that thankfulness doesn't just belong in the easy days, it belongs in the real ones. The ones that teach you, the ones that, they stretch you, the ones that really surprise you with their outcome, even though the beginning felt rough, right? Today's show isn't about reliving the mess, okay? It's about being thankful for what came after it, the understanding, the emotional growth, absolutely the emotional growth, and the stronger connection, the better conversations, the honesty, the breakthroughs, okay? It's about recognizing that sometimes the blessing isn't in how the moment started, but in how you walked out of it. And that's why this week themes is mattering to me, okay? Big time. Pardon me. Because gratitude, it doesn't just show up for victories. It shows up for the things that help us grow. Saturday grew us. Monday grew us. And today, we start talking about the moments in our lives where the story didn't start pretty, but it ended with perspective. And that's what life is. It's all about perspective, right? Now, the letters this week are about that, of course. The shifts, the turnarounds, that, hey, this went left, but then it went right. I didn't think it at first, but I'm thankful for what it showed me. Or even the it wasn't perfect, but it changed me moments. This is Thankful Week, born from a messy Saturday, shaped by a reflective Monday, and carried forward by a Tuesday that's ready to turn lessons into gratitude. So let's begin. Now, before I get into this next one, I want you to understand your letter, no matter what it is, no matter good or bad, we take that here. We take the good with the bad because let me tell you, it's all about life lessons too, right? All right. So I've decided to add just this tiny little one for when it's appropriate because today it's appropriate for me. And we're going to call this the accidental tiny letters section for a minute. Okay. Let me put that right up here. Tiny letters. All right. Now, family, before we get into tiny letters today, to the real stories today, we're starting with this new something that I'm just, everything's always a test, but these are short little messages that land in my inbox with big emotions and, well, I'm sorry, but small thinking sometimes, and I'm actually thankful for them. Why? They give me a warm-up laugh for anything. They remind us not to take the noise too seriously, and they prove that if someone took the time to write in, even upset, okay, well, the show is still reaching people, aren't we? Happy or sad, mad, glad, whatever it is. If we're reaching, that's our whole goal, right? So let's take a second, shake off this morning, and open today's tiny letter. It's quick, it's simple, and it gets the tone. I think it sets the tone pretty good. You may not like it, and please forgive me. But like I said, all transparency, and we share all letters here. So here we go. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to read this to the best of my ability with the exact spelling in the words, okay? Dear B, you really out here thinking you can tell people how to act and how to feel like you some kind of expert. B, please. If I listened to you, I'd be single for the rest of my life. You talk too much, think you know too much, and honestly, you should keep your opinions to yourself. Signed, Sick of Your Dumb Ass. DUMASS, okay? Listen, it's not about the letter, honey. It's about the message, okay? Sick of your DUMASS. Thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm assuming was a very busy schedule of being loud and wrong to send me this little masterpiece. Truly, I appreciate it. Listen, not everyone has the courage to hit send while operating at this level of confidence. With this level of spelling, bless your entire heart for trying. Listen, I'm grateful, you wrote. Really, I am. I'm so grateful. Because you just gave me the exact laugh I needed today. You guys ever get a letter so messy you can't even get mad? Seriously. You just sit there like, Lord, somebody out here really typed this with their whole chest. That's you, boo. You are today's joy. You are the unexpected comedy break I didn't order. And let me be clear, okay? I'm not offended. I'm not. Seriously, how could I be? Your letter read like autocorrect packed up its things and walked out halfway through. It takes a special kind of energy to insult somebody while spelling like your Wi-Fi cut out, during the alphabet tutorial. For that, I'm thankful. Okay. You gave me content. You gave me material. You gave me a reason to stretch my neck and take a drink of my drink. But the part that really warms my heart, okay, pardon me, I'm going to take that drink now. Yeah. The part that really warms my heart, honey, the part I'm truly grateful for, it's knowing that you cared enough to watch me and you thought about me. You got emotional about me and you wrote to me. Baby, that's support, no matter which way you look at it. That is unintended, accidental, hilarious support, and I'll take it. Signed, I know where to put the B. Okay. Now, let's wash our hands of that one. I thought that was rather well handled. Let's move into something a little more substance here. A whole lot of more emotion, okay? Because tiny letters come from people who hit send too fast. But bless your heart letters, y'all. Bless your heart letters. They come from folks who actually need a comment, who actually need a moment to breathe, who a truth delivered with a little velvet. That's what they need. And I am not a professional. If you do not like what I have to say, that's okay. You don't have to. I don't expect you to. I don't want you to live your life based on what I'm saying. I'm just telling you, I've been married going on 35 years, and this is what has helped me. If it does not help you, that's okay, honey. Maybe it will help the next person. Okay? So let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to shift the energy, step into the part of the show where we mix compassion with comedy and hand out just enough wisdom to keep the universe running straight. This is today's Bless Your Heart letter. Now, I had one of those days so ridiculous, I had to write it down before I convinced myself it didn't really happen. It started with me waking up late because my alarm clock decided it was tired of participating in my life. Now, I jumped out of bed. I tripped over my own shoe and somehow managed to get tangled in my blanket like a confused burrito. Not a graceful start. Oh, honey, I know what you're talking about. I do that just about every day. Okay. B, I can't prove it yet. But listen, I rushed to the kitchen thinking my maybe coffee would save me, only to discover my teenage son who used the last of the coffee grounds as an experiment for TikTok. I'm pretty sure he's trying to kill me slowly. I had to settle for a cup of instant coffee that tasted like burnt cardboard and disappointment. Yuck. Then I went to pack my lunch and the entire bottom shelf of my refrigerator collapsed. Oh, that was probably my morning. Entire shelf of my refrigerator collapsed like it just gave up on life. Everything fell, everything spilled, everything rolled. There were condiments spinning on my floor like they were auditioning for a cooking show. And in the middle of this mess, my dog, who was never shown interest in anything green, decided this was the moment to steal a half a bag of spinach and sprint through the house like Popeye on a crime spree. By the time I got myself together enough to leave for work, I realized my shirt was inside out. I fixed it in the driveway, only to step directly into a puddle deep enough to baptize my entire foot. So I'm cold, annoyed, and squishing with every step. Ooh. But B, the real moment happened. When I got to work, I was already frazzled, and my boss stopped me to say, "You're glowing today." Glowing, B. I looked like I had been dragged through several dimensions backwards, but somehow this man thought I looked radiant. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or ask if he needed medical attention. I would ask the latter part myself. The whole day kept the same energy. My co-worker sneezed so hard her wig shifted. Oh, Lord. Someone microwaved fish in the break room. Ew. Like they were trying to summon the apocalypse. That would be, yeah, I think that too. The printer jammed with the sheet of paper and then refused to admit it. And at lunch, I found somebody accidentally switched their Tupperware with mine. So instead of pasta, I got what I can only describe as a cold casserole made entirely of regret. Ew. And yet, somewhere between the refrigerator collapse and the wig sneeze, I realized I was actually laughing. There you go. Turn it around, baby. So the day was ridiculous. Everything went wrong, but it was so absurd that I couldn't help but find it funny. I guess sometimes life hands you chaos over the top that the only thing left to do is laugh so you don't explode. Amen to that, sis. Anyway, I thought that I would share my disaster of a day with you because honestly, it feels like if I didn't tell somebody, the universe was just going to keep escalating until a raccoon stole my car keys or something. Thanks for giving me a place to let this out. See, now that is what we are all about, isn't it? Signed, just trying to survive my own life. You know what? Amen, sis. I think we all are, aren't we? I, trying to survive my own life. That is probably the best signature I've seen yet. Okay. Let me just say that because that's all of us. And you know what? Bless your whole exhausted, overwhelmed, overcaffeinated heart because what you just lived through wasn't a day per se. All right. It wasn't a day. It was, oh my gosh, that was a full spiritual endurance marathon with comedy intervals built in, right? You didn't wake up. You were launched into chaos like the universe hit shuffle on every ridiculous scenario it had sitting in storage. The alarm clock gave up, the shoe attacked you, the blanket tried to finish the job, and you still got up and tried to move forward. That alone is, it's medal worthy. Okay. People don't understand the strength it takes to keep going when the morning starts out fighting you like you owe it money. But you did. You got up. You tried. And that matters a whole lot more than a perfect beginning ever will. Okay. And then, baby, the coffee incident, right? That right there is generational betrayal. Plain and simple. A teenage son experimenting with your coffee grounds like he's auditioning for a science show is exactly why parents age in dog years. Yeah. And when a morning is already unraveling, honey, there is nothing more soul crushing than opening the cabinet and seeing nothing but instant coffee that tastes like burnt apologies. But even in that moment, even with disappointment in a mug, you kept moving. You stepped into the refrigerator collapse and the condiments spinning like they were auditioning for So You Think You Can Dance, the dog launching into a spinach powered prison break. And instead of letting it break you, honey, you chose to breathe and keep going. That's not just surviving, right? That's being spiritually double jointed. Okay. You bent every which way and still moved forward. Keep that in mind, honey. Every day you wake up, you are still moving forward. Just believe that. Okay. Just believe that. Now, okay. My goodness. When somebody compliments your glow on the same day you got baptized by a puddle and emotionally mugged by your own refrigerator, that means your spirit shines louder than your circumstances, honey. You showed up frazzled, flustered, one wig shift away from joining the break room chaos, right? And somehow you were still giving light, right? That glow wasn't about appearance, though. It was about endurance. Come on, say it with me. It was about walking into the world with every reason to be done and still offering kindness, humor, and presence. People see that, okay? People see that. Now, even when you feel undone, I promise you, people are going to see your strength. Yes, I'm doing something a little over here off the side. Forgive me. I'm trying to get myself together here or get things working right. Anyway, okay. Now, the wig. Oh, how I don't want to. It's hard to get into this one because I have so many lovely people that I know that wear wigs, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But the wig, the fish, the printer lying about its own crimes, the mystery lunch that tasted like regret and poor decisions. Okay, baby, that was the universe letting you know something important. Very important. Sometimes you don't get to fix life. You just don't. Okay? You just don't. You don't get to fix life. You do get to laugh at it, though. For real. You learned the secret today. When everything else goes sideways, when nothing aligns, when you seriously wonder if a raccoon is going to steal your keys, the only power you have left is how you choose to respond. And you chose to laugh. Honey, you chose release, not rupture. That's got to be, something amazing. That means you're stronger and wiser and far more resilient than you realize. You didn't survive a disaster of a day, you mastered one. And trust me, if you can laugh through this, there is nothing you can't handle. Honestly, that is a blessing in disguise, a cold, confused, orange juice adjacent blessing, but a blessing nonetheless. Okay. So, my goodness, you're going to be all right, honey. I promise you. We all have our days. We sure do. We sure do. But you got this. Okay. I know you got this. Everybody got this. Hey there. Thank you, Big Jack. Good to see you. Yes, I'm working on something over here too that's just driving me nuts. I'm sorry. So anyway, there are some letters that, well, they don't come from a place of frustration or comedy. They come from the quiet places, the heavy places, right? The parts of life where you don't get a luxury of a clean, smooth highway. And these are the stories written by people who've been walking through the dust and the silence and, carrying more than they ever admit out loud. And even though the world doesn't always notice those long stretches of struggle, the people living them feel every mile, every single mile. You know it's true. You feel it. You've felt it before. So this next letter, it comes from one of those places, the gravel road season, okay? The kind where every step feels uneven, every decision feels heavy, and every day feels like a test of endurance. But even in those seasons, there's often a moment, one realization, one small shift that reminds someone they're still moving forward, even if the road beneath them is rough, So let's slow down, take another breath, and walk with this writer as they share a piece of their little journey. Okay. Dear B, I've been going through one of those stretches in life where everything feels heavier than it should. And I don't know if it's the season, the stress, or just the slow buildup of too many responsibilities. But it's starting to feel like I'm walking a road entirely made of loose gravel. Every step feels uneven. Every decision feels like I'm guessing. And no matter how much I think I'm moving forward, I still feel like I'm sliding backwards half the time. It's not one big thing either. It's the combination of 100 small things that never seem to let up. My job has been unpredictable for months. Hours cut, then added, then cut again. I can't plan anything because I don't know what I'll be working from one week to the next. My car has been giving me warning signs I can't afford to fix. My bills don't pause just because I'm overwhelmed. And even though I've always been The strong one in my family, the one everybody comes to. Lately, I'm finding myself running out of energy to be that person. I feel guilty even saying that out loud. Don't. Please don't. Oh my goodness. Pardon me. The hardest part is that I don't really talk about any of this to anyone. I've gotten used to acting fine, smiling, making jokes, showing up like everything's normal. Oh, baby girl, don't wear that mask. I've gotten good at saying I'm okay, even when the truth is that I'm tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Amen. I've always been the one who gets things done no matter what, but for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to feel like I'm holding things together with tape and hope. But something happened last week that I can't shake in a good way. I was leaving the grocery store and I dropped an entire bag right there in the parking lot. You said in a good way. Okay. Cans rolling everywhere, fruit bouncing under cars. I just stood there watching my dinner roll away from me like it was trying to escape. I was so embarrassed and so tired that I didn't even bend down right away. I just froze. And out of nowhere, this older woman came over, knelt down, and started picking everything up with me. She didn't say anything at first. She just helped. When we finally gathered it all, she looked at me and said, "You look like someone who's been carrying too much for too long. It's okay to let somebody help you." Oh, forgive me. That one got me a little. And B, I don't know why, but those words almost took me out right there. Amen, sis. Almost took me too. It wasn't the groceries. It wasn't the mess. It was how seen I felt in that moment by a complete stranger who didn't know anything about my life, but somehow understood exactly what I had been holding inside. I thanked her and she just smiled like she already knew. She did, honey. She sure did. In that tiny moment, those few words softened something in me I didn't realize had gone rigid. I still don't have everything figured out. I'm still tired. I'm still overwhelmed. And the road hasn't magically smoothed out. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I'm not as invisible as I thought. Maybe there's still kindness in the world big enough to reach me on my hardest days. I'm not writing for an answer today. I just needed to say all of this somewhere. I just needed to admit out loud that I'm struggling, even if it's only to a stranger on the internet. Maybe that's my first step, not pretending quite so hard. Still walking, still trying. You go, baby girl. You go. And oh my goodness, thank you so much. You did not have to write in to share that, but I will take those letters too. And that's what I mean. We will take any letter you want, okay? Any letter. You just tell us what you want to talk about. Because that right there is exactly the kind of letter I think we all needed today. Me especially. I've had, you know, we all go through a hard time during the holidays, don't we? Things get rough. It's the end of the year and you got to do taxes and you got all these holidays and you got all this family and you want to make them all happy. And it's so overwhelming. But when I hear someone describe their life the way you just did, okay, the first thing I want you to know, you're not imagining the weight you're carrying. There are seasons in life that don't feel dramatic enough to call a crisis, but they are absolutely heavy enough to wear a person down piece by piece. What you're describing it's the slow erosion that comes from being responsible, okay? Reliable and resilient for so long that nobody even thinks to check whether you're still okay, right? People don't ask because you've trained them not to worry. You've been the one who's always figured it out, okay? Who always keeps moving, who doesn't complain, who doesn't fall apart. After a while, everyone, including you, starts believing you don't need support. But honey, you do. Everybody does. Every strong person needs support. That's part of the strength, right? Admitting that isn't weakness. It's one of the bravest things someone caring as much as you are caring can do for themselves and anybody else involved. What I hear in your letter, listen, this is not someone who's failing, okay? I hear someone who has been operating on empty for far too long, way too long, baby girl, without giving themselves permission to pause. I know that because I am that. Okay? I can be that constantly. I can be that. You've become so used to adjusting, adapting, and absorbing disappointment that you barely notice how much you've been carrying. But your body notices, your spirit. Your spirit notices, guys. That moment in the parking lot, it wasn't about spilled groceries. It was the universe handing you a mirror. Because when that bag split open, it wasn't just the food that scattered. It was all the held in frustration, all the swallowed emotions, all the exhaustion you've been pushing past for months. Listen, when that stranger knelt beside you, she wasn't just helping you collect cans. She was helping you collect yourself. There is something incredibly powerful about being seen in a moment when you feel invincible. That woman didn't know your story. She didn't have to. She recognized how tired you were. She saw it in your face. She recognized the quiet heaviness that comes from being the strong one for way too long. Sometimes it takes a complete stranger to say the words we don't let ourselves say or think or be, because we're so focused on survival that we forget to acknowledge the toll it takes. Listen, the way she paused, the way she didn't rush or dismiss you, the way she spoke to your heart instead of your situation, that's the kind of moment that interrupts the spiral. It doesn't fix everything, but it reminds you that you deserve softness just as much as anyone you ever supported. Okay? The gravel road you're on right now, it's not a reflection of failure or poor choices. Gravel roads show up when life is stretching us, refining us, preparing us, even when we feel too tired to be shaped. They force us to just slow down. They require a different kind of balance, and they demand intention instead of momentum. And as frustrating as it is to walk that uneven ground, it has a way of revealing what we've ignored, what we've been suppressing, okay? And what we can no longer keep carrying alone. You said you didn't write for answers, and I respect that so much. But I want to give you something anyway, okay? Not a solution, but an understanding you might not have given yourself. You have not lost your strength. You have not lost your value. You have not lost your capacity to stand under the weight of what life has placed on your shoulders. What you've lost is permission. Permission to rest. Permission to feel. Permission to ask for help. Permission to be something other than the one who fixes everything. That parking lot moment wasn't random. It was an invitation to stop pretending you're okay when you're exhausted, right? It was a reminder that you're allowed to receive the kindness you so often give others. It was a reminder that you're allowed to receive the kindness, okay? Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby, oh, let me put that up. Amen. Some have entertained angels unawares. Amen. Amen. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Big Jack. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. That's perfect. Yet again, you're the best, boss man. You know, think about that for a minute. Be not forgetful. Sometimes the world sends us a stranger to remind us that we're still worthy of comfort and connection and care, even when we haven't asked for it. Honey, you're still walking, you're still trying. And that in itself is proof of strength. But from this point forward, I hope you also let yourself be supported. Okay. Let yourself be human. Let yourself be tired without apologizing for it. Because even gravel roads eventually smooth out. And when they do, the person who reaches the other side is rarely the same who began the journey in the first place. They're wiser, softer, stronger in a quieter way, and more aware of their own worth. You haven't reached the end of this road yet, okay? But you're not walking in it blindly anymore. And that alone is a huge step forward. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for that. I truly am. That is amazing. I love that I can get these letters too, because let me tell you something. If you can learn your own lesson without hearing me, that's the letter I want to see. That's the real letter I want to see. I want to see some of the good things in your lives too. Because sure, that's what I'm here for. Maybe to give you something that you can take away from how I might have dealt with that situation, so that you can walk through your life just a little bit taller, maybe a little bit stronger. And if it's not me, or if it's not everything I've got to say, that's okay too. Because let me tell you something. I am not a professional. I am not a counselor. All I am is somebody who has experienced life for 54 years now. I don't have all the answers. I don't claim that I do. I will never have all the answers. I'm still learning every single moment of every single day myself. I am. And you know what? You are too. But here's the point that I'm trying to make. I am here so we can do this together, right? That's what we're here for. People need to unite and be together as one. This world is in chaos right now. And if anybody knows it, it's me, because I'm sitting in the middle of chaos right now. But let me tell you something. Chaos does not have to be your life. It does not. And all you need to do to get rid of that chaos, maybe not get rid of it, but to suppress it, to be able to handle it, know your worth. Know your worth. And know that you are worth heaven and hell. Okay? You are worth heaven and hell. That's why we are here. Every single one of us. And every single day, we carve our own paths to either or. And let me tell you something. Today, my path is right next to yours. Okay? Because that letter was amazing. To know that you found something good out of such a crazy day. That means we are reaching who we need to reach, and it's perfect. It's perfect. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Seriously, that was amazing. I think that's one of the best letters I've received so far. So now we're going to get into the last little half of our show. Pardon me. Because let me tell you, this is part of my favorite, I don't know, thing. I love music. Music is my thing. It always has been. I've got a background in it. It's beautiful. Music, I can play a song and my husband will know what kind of mood I'm in, Music is way more than just to listen to. Music, you should listen to the words. You should think about what, possibly that person had going on in their life while they were out here wowing us. Okay? So there are certain artists, who don't just make magic. They redefine what it means to survive and to evolve and, hey, to reclaim yourself, right? And to light up stage in a way nobody has ever done before or since. When you talk about those kinds of artists, it is impossible to mention, or not to mention, Tina Turner. She wasn't just a voice. She wasn't just a performer. I mean, come on. She was a force of nature, right? Wrapped up in grit and grace and fire and a level of stage presence that, my goodness, it could shake the walls off an arena, right? You didn't just listen to Tina Turner. You felt her. She had that rare ability to take every ounce of her personal history, the pain, the triumph, the defiance, the resilience, and turn it into sound, into movement, into electricity, and into absolute truth. Now, what's powerful about Tina is that she didn't have a straight path. Her story wasn't a smooth climb or a fairy tale, She walked through storms, oh my gosh, that would have broken most people, okay? She walked through loss, heartbreak, reinvention, and the kind of pressure that forces you to grow or disappear, okay? But Tina didn't just grow, she transformed. She stepped into, your advice is so on point. Thank you, Big Jack. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. I don't ever want to give the wrong advice, and I don't ever expect anybody to take my advice. What I would like for you is that you just maybe find a piece of it that might help you, or, use it for what it is, but keep it. Okay? Because I'm offering it to you freely. And you know what? That's the best free thing you can give, right? Okay, but let's get back into Tina before I go off on that again, because I will. Tina didn't just grow, she transformed. She stepped into herself so boldly that the entire world had to stand back and take notice. And that's why she fits the jukebox world, my journey so perfectly. My dog, I'm sorry. Stop, Otto. He's on my table and scratching himself, and he's a 95-pound dog and he won't move. Okay. So she stepped into herself so boldly, okay, that the entire world had to stand back and take notice. And that's why she fits this jukebox journey so perfectly. And my dog, I love my dog. I love my dog. I love my dog. Yes, I'm saying that so I don't feed him to the other dog. Now, her music isn't just hits and chart positions, okay? Her music is testimony. It's survival turned into song. It's triumph with a microphone, okay? And every single time Tina took the stage, she carried more than choreography and high heels, okay? She carried generations. She carried women who felt unheard and people who had been underestimated. She carried anyone who had ever been pushed down so hard that they didn't know if they could rise again. She showed them that, rising is possible, that reinvention is possible, and that joy after pain is possible too. She didn't whisper her comeback. She roared it. I mean, absolutely roared it. And the world listened because the world needed her example. So today's Jukebox Journey segment, yes, we're having that now because the trivia is great, but I just want to talk about them, and just tell you all the really good stuff that you didn't know. And then we have a discussion about it maybe before we get out of here, and hey, all good. So This isn't just about the music that Tina made, right? It's about the life she lived, the impact that she left behind, and the fire she ignited in anyone who ever watched her walk across the stage like she owned the world. And she did. Okay. And now we've got a letter from someone who wants to revisit her, remember her, and honor the legacy that she carried. See, I told you, we take any letters here. And now we've got music letters. Somebody wants to hear a little bit more about Tina Turner. We're doing good. I'm loving this. We will spread this out as much as we need to. Now, let's go ahead and get into this letter because I'm very proud to have received this one. B. I've always been fascinated by Tina Turner, not just because of her music, but because of the way she seemed to blaze through every challenge life put in front of her. There was something about her that felt bigger than the stage, that raw energy, that power, that sense that she was performing from a place deeper than anybody else. I grew up hearing her songs in the background of road trips, family cookouts, and Saturday cleaning days. I think we've had that conversation, but as I got older, I started really paying attention to her story. Didn't we all? And the more I learned, the more I realized that Tina Turner wasn't just an entertainer. She was a living example of survival, transformation, and the kind of strength that comes from rebuilding your life from the inside out. Amen. So what gets me the most is how she found the courage to start over when she could have easily disappeared. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. After everything she went through personally, professionally, emotionally, she still managed to reinvent herself in a way nobody expected. She stepped back into the spotlight, not as the Tina she used to be, but as the Tina she chose to become. That takes a kind of bravery most of us only dream about. And then to go on and dominate stadiums, headlines, charts, and entire generations of fans, that's the kind of comeback story that sticks with you. But I'll be honest, I feel like there's so much about her that people gloss over. I know the broad strokes, the early success, the struggles, the comebacks, the hits, the legendary shows, but I want to understand her in a deep way. Okay? Not the gossip, not the drama, the woman behind the fire. I want to know what made her iconic beyond the obvious. What was it? Excuse me. What was it that gave Tina Turner that extra something? That spark that made her electrifying, whether she was on a tiny stage or in front of 200,000 people. And what do you think we're supposed to learn from someone like her? Not just as music fans, but as people trying to navigate our own lives, our own reinventions, our own gravel roads, as you would say. So my question for you is simple but layered. What made Tina Turner truly legendary, and how do we honor a woman who gave so much of herself to the world while carving out a life she finally got to live on her own terms? Signed, pardon me. I knew I had this. Yeah. Signed, looking for the fire behind the flame. There we go. All righty. You know, this one seems like it might be hard, but it's really not. You want to know what made Tina Turner legendary? Let me start by saying this. Tina wasn't legendary because of what she survived. She was legendary because of what she did after. A lot of people go through hard seasons. A lot of people experience heartbreak and manipulation, disappointment and loss, right? But Tina, yeah. Tina did something that is far more rare, okay? Way more powerful and way more difficult than surviving, okay? She rebuilt herself without bitterness. She chose freedom without fear. And She cultivated a joy that wasn't borrowed from applause or fame or validation. Okay. Her fire did not come from the spotlight. It came from a decision she made within herself long before the world caught up. Listen, what set Tina apart was that she didn't let the world define her narrative. She didn't let her past become her personality. Okay. She didn't let what she endured turn into a shadow of herself. Instead, she carved out a new identity with the most dangerous tool a woman can ever wield, and that's the truth. The truth about who she really was, and the truth about what she deserved. The truth about the power she held even before she realized she held it. A lot of women have that problem. There's a lot of men out there that do too. Okay. And when she stepped into that truth, when she really claimed it, you could see it in every performance, every interview, every shouted lyric, every stomp across the stage. That wasn't just choreography, that was reclamation. Okay. That was liberation. That was a woman who had been silenced, stepping into a volume the world had never heard before. Tina Turner didn't reinvent herself by accident. Okay, she reinvented herself with intention, every intention in the world. And that's the lesson people rarely talk about. Her comeback wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it wasn't even industry connections. It was discipline, it was self belief, it was the willingness to be a beginner again at an age when most people are already winding down. And she proved that life doesn't give you the timeline, you give life the timeline. She proved that a second chapter can be bigger and louder and even more electrifying than the first. Not because everything gets easier, but because you finally stop asking for permission to be who you are. Now, what made Tina Turner an iconic was the combination of vulnerability and, power existing in the same body. She could give you grit and softness, fire and elegance, movement and stillness, okay? All in one moment. She was one of the few artists who could stand completely still on stage, not moving a muscle, and still electrifying an entire stadium. That's not a performance. That is presence. That's spiritual, okay? That is something you're born with but have to fight to keep. And Tina fought for it. She didn't let anyone, not anyone, take it from her, not even Ike. She didn't let anyone define it. She didn't even let anyone clip the wings she spent her whole life growing, okay? And then there's the part people often gloss over because it makes them uncomfortable. Tina Turner created a life for herself that had nothing to do with the industry. The pace that she found later in life, the home, the marriage, the quiet, the spiritual grounding, that was her true victory. Not the tours, not the sold out arenas, not even the magazine covers or the awards. Her real triumph was finding a life that wasn't loud, a life where she didn't have to perform. And it was a life where she got to rest, a life where she wasn't surviving anymore. Okay. She was living, thriving. When you think about the arc of Tina Turner's journey, that's the part that stands out the most for me, especially. She didn't just reinvent her career, she reinvented her entire future. So when you ask what makes her legendary, the answer is layered. It was the voice, yes. The stage presence, absolutely. The grit, the beauty, the movement, the power, all of that matters. But her legacy is the blueprint that she left behind, the proof that reinvention is real. the reminder, okay, that it's never too late to demand more from your own life. The example of a woman who refused to let the world write her final chapter. And as for how we honor her by not shrinking ourselves, okay? We honor her by not letting her fear or our fear dictate our choices. We honor her by choosing joy, even when life tries to hand us pain. And we honor her by stepping into our own truth without apology. And you know what? By remembering that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it dances across the stage in high heels. Sometimes it grows quietly in a home in Switzerland. And sometimes it lives in the hearts of the women she made feel seen, powerful, and possible. Tina Turner didn't just change music, she changed the way women saw themselves. She proved that no matter where you start, you have the right and the responsibility to decide where you finish. Okay? When we talk about Tina Turner in the context of music history, we have to understand that she didn't just step into a genre, okay? She disrupted it. Tina didn't fit neatly into any category, and the truth is, that's what made her so revolutionary. Early in her career, she was often labeled as an R&B artist because that was the system's way of um, putting performers into a box. Okay, but Tina's sound was never limited to one lane. She had the vocal power of the rock, the emotional grit of blues, the rhythmic drive of soul, and a stage presence that rivaled the greatest rock frontman of all time. And she wasn't just holding her own, she was surpassing them. In the 60s and the 70s, rock music was being shaped by men who were praised for their wild energy, their raw vocals, and their rebellious edge. But long before the world crowned, Mick Jagger, Steven Tyler as the embodiment of rock swagger, Tina Turner was out there delivering performances with a ferocity that made audiences physically lean forward. She had a way of commanding the stage that wasn't learned. It was instinctive, okay? And a lot of people don't realize that the very style of performance we associate with some of the biggest male rock icons was inspired directly or indirectly by Tina. Mick Jagger himself said, he learned to move by watching her. Let that sink in. One of the most iconic frontmen in rock history modeled his physicality after Tina, a black woman from Nutbush, Tennessee. Her vocal tone mattered. Absolutely. Tina had a rasp that wasn't rough, it was refined, okay? Controlled, intentional. She knew to put her voice to the edge without ever losing musicality, creating a clarity that, it was a sound that was instantly recognizable. No one else had that blend of gravel and clarity, fire, precision. That's why her music crossed genre boundaries so effortlessly. She wasn't a woman doing rock music. She was a rock star, period. Dead stop. And the industry had to adjust around her. Then came the 1980s, the era that most people think of as Tina's comeback. Though the truth uh, it was a reinvention of her own on her own terms when she released Private Dancer in 1984. She didn't just return to the charts, okay? She detonated them. That album didn't sound like anything else at that time. It combined pop and rock and soul and new wave edge that felt modern without losing her identity. And what made it historic wasn't just the sales or the awards. It was who she became in that moment. a 44-year-old Black woman with the decades of industry wear and tear, suddenly becoming one of the biggest global stars on the planet in an industry notorious for pushing women out by their mid-30s. Tina didn't fit the mold. She broke it. Amen. She didn't follow the template. She rewrote it. She showed that reinvention has no age limit, no expiration date, and no ceiling when paired with discipline and authenticity. And then there's the influence she left behind. Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Rihanna, of all these women carrying pieces of Tina's blueprint. The explosive energy, the emotional storytelling, the choreography that feels like a physical testimony. Come on, y'all. That's Tina's DNA running through the next generation. Even artists who don't claim her directly have benefited from the door that she kicked down. Because, before the music industry accepted women in rock, before it accepted older women as superstars, before it understood that a woman could dominate the stage without conforming to anyone's expectations, Tina Turner had already proven it. She had. And here's the part that often gets overlooked in the historical conversations. Tina's global impact. Europe embraced her as a cultural icon in a way that, surpassed American recognition. She performed in stadiums that held more people than some U.S. towns. She brought rock concerts to places that had never seen a woman command a crowd like that. Her 1988 Rio de Janeiro concert drew 180,000 people, one of the largest crowds for a single artist in history. That wasn't just a show. That was a world declaring in unison that Tina Turner was not just relevant, she was monumental. Amen. Hi, Patty. Good to see you, honey. So her influence, it lives in every artist who uses their pain as power, in every performer who treats the stage like a battlefield, and in every person who believes that reinvention is still possible. No matter how late in the story the shift arrives. Get out of there, Otto. Sorry, dogs. I can't. If I leave them out the room, it's worse. Okay, y'all? If I leave them out the room, it's worse. Get out of there. That worked. Pardon me. So Tina Turner didn't just make history. Okay, y'all, she shaped it. And her fingerprints are still all over the music world today, right? Okay, so before we wrap up today, of course, I want to take a moment to remind you that you're watching. And what you're watching isn't just an episode, it's part of an entire network, okay? A universe we're building in real time. This is BBTV Productions. And I partnered, and so happily so, with the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. And every single day we add another piece to something much bigger than any just one show. Around here, community isn't a buzzword, it's the engine, okay? We've built a space where your stories matter, your voice matters, your presence matters, and your energy feeds shows across an entire lineup. From Ask a Bee to Ladies Diary to Iron Sharpening Iron to our music tributes, daily live streams, throwback loops, Jukebox Journey, and the new vertical projects. Those are pretty cool, right? All of it connects, all of it feeds each other, and all of it is growing because you keep showing up. Now, if you're new here, consider this your official welcome into this universe. This is a place where the women get real on Ladies Diary, and the men get deep on the Gentleman's Journal with Big Jack, and where music lovers get a whole new education through our tributes, loops, and jukebox journeys. We laugh here, we think here, we're real here, okay? And we heal here, we build here, and we do it together. Listen, this universe is powered by participation. Every comment, every share, every time you show up in the chat or quietly watch in the background, you push this network, this whole universe further out into YouTube land. You tell YouTube that real community still exists. And when you send in your letters, your stories, your questions, your confessions, you help shape the next episode in a way only real life can. This isn't just content. This is creation. This is collaboration. And this is history happening one show at a time. So if you've got a moment to share, a letter to send, or a topic you want to the panel, if you want to be on the panel, send it in. And while you're at it, make sure you're subscribed to all the shows. Big Jack's Iron Sharpening Iron, Ladies Diary, Ask a Bee, Jukebox Journey, Rising Resilience, everybody, all of us, because we all have something good to say. And every BBTV production rolling out, here we are. You don't want to say, I wish I would have caught this earlier, okay? When you could have been one of the originals who say, I was here when the universe was built. BBTV, ISI, RR, the universe grows because you show up. And as long as you stay in the room, we'll keep giving you shows worth turning on. Okay? So, as we look back at everything, Tina Turner represented the resilience, the reinvention, the unmatched fire she carried into every room. It becomes clear that her story isn't just about music. Okay? We're going to close out today's journey. I want to leave you with this. Every artist we talk about, every relator that we read, they leave behind pieces of themselves, pieces we can learn from, okay? Hold on to and allow us to shape in small but meaningful ways. You know, Tina's not with us any longer, but the blueprint that she left behind us is alive in every person who's ever had to start over, reclaim their voice. And right here on Ask a Bee, we'd like to help you rebuild too when you need to, okay? We bring these stories for you, not to idolize anybody, not just to remind you that your own chapters, the messy ones, the quiet ones, the powerful ones, matter just as much. Strength doesn't need a spotlight. Tina was a very, very important person, not because she was a celebrity, but because she found her strength in the spotlight. And healing doesn't need applause. Getting back up after life knocks you down, that's legendary in its own right. So as you head on to the rest of your day, take a little of that spirit with you. The second chances, the courage to begin again, the permission to become someone new, okay? You're not defined by what happened. You're defined by who you choose to be now. Believe that. Thank you for being here, for sharing your letters, and thank you for showing up with the same openness and honesty that fuels this whole Ask a Bee community and all of the other communities. And be sure to stay connected to everything happening across this Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. All of them. Every single one of them have value, I promise you. So until next time, keep learning, keep healing, and keep finding the music inside your own story. I'll see you on the next Jukebox Journey.